Hello friends, James Corbett here from CorbettReport.com with your thought for the day on 26th of March 2015. We've talked in the past about the various ways that the free and open internet is neither so free nor so open as we like to believe, and decreasingly so as time progresses. But there have been some very worrying moves towards censoring alternative media in the past couple of days that I really wanted to bring to your attention. You may have seen, for example, antiwar.com having been removed from Google AdSense because of, well, they were first given the reason that it was about pictures of Iraqi detainees at Abu Ghraib. Then they were told it was about an article on the Ukraine war. And they've had it restored and then taken away again. Just craziness going on with regards to that. But it is certainly not just antiwar.com that's been hit by this. Luke Rukowski has talked about how almost all of his videos have suddenly become demonetized, and the view count is now skewed much, much further downward than it used to be. And I can attest also from behind the scenes, same thing for me. My account has been demonetized, removed from Google AdSense, which is okay because I've never put a Google ad on my videos, and I never will, and never even considered it because I don't trust Google as far as I can throw them, and I wouldn't accept any money from them. But there you go. The people who were relying on them for part of their funding have now lost that funding source. For no adequately explained reason, but clearly something has gone on with Google, and they are now starting to censor based on political content. I mean, that is exactly what antiwar.com is talking about. That seems to be what's happened to Luke Rukowski, and that seems to be what they've decided behind the scenes about my account. And again, not that I care, but it shouldn't be surprising to those of us who know, for example, about the documented relationship between Google and the NSA. There was a court ruling back in 2009, I want to say, that the court admitted that there was a relationship, but they couldn't release any of the details of it. Just last year, we got some leaked emails from NSA Director General Keith Alexander to Google executive Sergey Brin and Eric Schmidt, talking about Google's participation in refinement, engineering, and deployment of solutions to cyber threats, as well as the meetings that took place behind the scenes between Google, Apple, and Microsoft executives and NSA officials about coming up with core security principles for mobile devices, which is a laugh given what we know about the various ways that these mobile devices are tapped into by the NSA. Again, shouldn't be surprising. People might remember Nafiz Ahmed's expose on how the CIA made Google, various other points along that data trail that we've covered here on the Corbett Report in the past. And the latest revelation just a couple of days ago, interestingly enough, apparently the Google is meeting with the White House, is meeting at the White House once a week. It is becoming a, quote, lobbying powerhouse. Or perhaps not becoming, but being exposed as a lobbying powerhouse behind the scenes. So intimate relationship between Google and the U.S. government. Where does one end and the other begin? Who even knows at this point? But they certainly seem to be cracking down on users. Unfortunately, for those who think Facebook might be a safer place, it isn't.
Sorry, I'm kind of nervous. We have the President of the United States here.
Well, thank you so much, Facebook, for hosting this, first of all.
Yes, Facebook, of course, absolutely no different. So a point highlighted in a recent conversation between Dan Dix and Jeffrey Tucker talking about Liberty.me and alternative social media sites that are trying to combat various Facebook and other types of censorship that they talk about and discuss in that video, worth watching. Again, not a surprise to people who've been following the story. For example, in 2012, it was admitted, it was leaked, that Facebook has a content censorship list, and they employ people at minimum wage, I believe in the Philippines or somewhere like that, to go behind the scenes and secretly delete any content that goes against what they call the Bible. Internally, that's what they call their censorship book. Facebook manipulated user news feeds to create emotional responses. This came out last year, just a bizarre story where they admit they were actually working behind the scenes to try to tailor people's news feeds to see if they could manipulate their emotions, which they would then measure by the types of things they would post to their Facebook walls. The most creepy Orwellian stuff you can imagine, and I still can't imagine why anyone is on Facebook at this point. And for anyone who, I noticed some people in Acapulco telling me that they'd seen me on Facebook. I am not on Facebook. So anyone on Facebook claiming to be James Corbett or representing the Corbett Report is not me. It must be someone else. So just to make that clear. But again, all of these shenanigans are happening right now, and we can only imagine what else is happening with manipulation of user news feeds behind the scenes that isn't admitted to. This is years old material. People might remember Google Video. I remember back in the day when I was first getting into this. This was a place where every single day on the front page you would see Great Global Warming Swindle, 9/11 Mysteries Demolition. You would see Federal Reserve documentaries. In the top 10, you'd often see 9/11 videos of various sorts every single day. And eventually they rejiggered their algorithm to try to get rid of the truth videos from the front page. And then they got rid of the top 100 altogether, and then they got rid of Google Video altogether and just turned it into YouTube, just bought out YouTube and literally turned it into GooTube. And we all know where that went. YouTube used to have a front page. That was how some of my earliest viral videos went viral, but now there is no front page. It's a personally tailored page based on your personal viewing history. So if you watch alt media, yeah, you might get some alt media recommendations. If you don't, you probably never will. So that viral vector has been completely eliminated from the conversation. People might remember Dig, which was the old Reddit of the mid-2000s. It eventually came out. Wired and others reported on the Dig's bury brigades, special super users who were able to bury stories that anyone didn't like from appearing on the front page of Dig. All sorts of stories that were getting hundreds or thousands of digs would be censored from the front page, including surprise, surprise, alt media stories about 9/11 truth and other things. Reddit, it's come out time and time and time again. Various mods censoring posts by topic, censoring posts by website, pay for play. Various websites pay moderators to get their posts on Reddit and in prominent positions. Again, the manipulations are nearly endless, and these latest ones are particularly worrying because, of course, it means that they're trying to cut at people at the source, at the monetary source, so that this type of information, again, cannot be created. This is why it is so important, if you are watching this on YouTube, please at least bookmark CorbettReport.com so that if, and unfortunately increasingly likely when, they try to manipulate, censor, or otherwise obstruct my material on YouTube, you can find it at the source. All of the videos posted in MP4 format for download there. All of the podcasts in MP3 format. All the articles are up there. All the information is at CorbettReport.com for free download, so please make the most of it. And also, again, this is another reminder, this is why we have to save any important material. You see a great article, save it to your hard drive. You hear a great podcast, save it to your hard drive. You see a great video, save it to your hard drive. And save it locally so that it can't disappear down that memory hole. Another great solution, low-tech discs, actual physical data discs that you can use to archive material, including, of course, this is exactly why I do the data DVDs, where you can buy, for example, a data DVD Volume 4, 2011, every single podcast, every video, every article, all on 2 data DVDs in one set, so that you can take all of that information and you have it physically available, so that, again, if this ever disappears from the internet, if it suddenly goes missing, if they take down CorbettReport.com, you will still physically have the data with you. It is so important for us to remember that all of this, everything that we take for granted right now on the internet is just the flick of a switch away from being taken away, and we shouldn't take this stuff for granted. This is extremely important. So I hope my listeners understand the gravity of this situation. This is James Corbett of CorbettReport.com, and with any luck, I'll be here tomorrow talking to you as well. So until then, take care.
So I'm optimistic. I don't think they will be successful, but we have to be alert. And the only way they can't be successful if we give it our attention and fight it as best as we can by spreading the information as wide as we can.
You're listening to the Corbett Report.
This is James Corbett, CorbettReport.com, joined today in Acapulco, Mexico, with Dan Dix of PressForTruth.ca and Luke Rutkowski of WeAreChange.org. Today we're going to be talking about something that affects all three of us. Dan, of course, in Canada, Luke in America, myself in Japan. That is the pressing dangers to internet freedom in legislation that has either just been passed or is being passed or wants to be passed in all three of these countries. We're going to start with Dan talking about what's happening in Canada. I know you've been covering this recently. What are the latest threats to internet freedom in Canada?
Well, the latest one that's threatening us right now is Bill C-51. This was actually introduced back in 2011, but prior to 2011, it was under the guise of trying to stop internet pornography and on children. So it was under that guise, but when that didn't work and didn't pass through, they switched up the game and switched it to Bill C-51. 3 years have passed. It's still not going to fly. So now that the Canadians are getting involved in fighting terrorism abroad, now we've brought this onto us. So this is why they're trying to pass this on now. Bill C-51, whisk it through in the face of all the current terrorism going on to restrict the rights of people such as us. This thing is going to restrict our abilities to be able to communicate with one another. It'll give the intelligence communities, the intelligence agencies, the ability to preemptively stop us from doing things if they suspect that we may be involved in some sort of terrorism activities. So this is detrimental for Canadians, so that it's incredibly important to stand up for this. As you said, this is not only happening in Canada, it's going on all over the world right now.
And, of course, playing the terror card in order to clamp down on freedom. No stranger to the U.S. situation, where Luke Rutkowski, of course, is reporting on the latest dangers in Congress regarding this type of legislation. What's going on there?
Well, of course, we know Congress tried to pass SOPA and PIPA. They failed, luckily, but they still try to throw their legislation in other bigger pieces of legislation. So it makes it virtually impossible to really get through everything. But Congress has not been yet successful in censoring the internet. But Obama, during his State of the Union, he said we have to protect our children from cyber terrorism. And what he's trying to pass is this new executive order on cyber legislation, cyber security, that will ultimately make it illegal to even view documents that are classified. So if you get shared documents, someone gives you and emails you documents just like the Snowden leaks or all these other documents that the government doesn't want you to see, that they don't officially leak themselves, which they do sometimes when it looks good in their favor. If you are a receiver of those documents, you face 10 years in jail and a $100,000 penalty. So Obama's trying to ram through these laws since Congress has failed, and he's doing it under the guise of protecting our children from cyber terrorism, which is obviously pieces of flying crap. So,
of course, and that sounds extremely familiar to those who are familiar with the Japanese law. It was just passed in last December, which also criminalizes the reception of any material that the government deems classified or secret by journalists. So for the first time, criminalizing real journalism in Japan, although there isn't much there anyway because of the club system that they have in place to basically limit any type of journalism that goes on there. But of course, we all know, unfortunately, all too well about the problems. The question is, what about the solutions? Luke, you bring up SOPA and PIPA, which of course was not successful in being passed a couple of years ago, but of course it's the war of attrition. They keep bringing it back, bringing it back, bringing it back. The question is this something that we're going to get blocked legislatively, or is there a more fundamental level at which we can be attacking this? Luke, your thoughts?
Well, one thing that we know is that the system, the powers that be, always take 2 steps forwards and 1 step back. This is their step back, but they're going to make 2 steps forwards. So we have to be aware of what's happening within our kind of legal political system and bring attention to it. Just this mere fact of other people being aware of this made sure that this bill would not pass. Our attention and what we focus on and what we want, it's a constant tug of war between the powers that be and the people who are supposedly represented by the government. So I've never been a fan of lobbying politicians. I've never been a fan of asking criminals for help with crime, because you're going to get more crime, and the government always finds, out of a problem, a solution that only works out better for them, which creates more problems. I believe in spreading attention. I believe in people innovating new technologies, new encryptions, new kind of outlets that kind of bypass the old system. So I'm really optimistic, because we've seen so many people, whenever a government creates a roadblock, bam, they always create a different way around it. We've seen that in the Bitcoin community. We've seen that in the encryption community. We're learning every day about what's safe and what's not safe. So again, to me, empower yourself with knowledge. don't seek answers from the criminals creating the problems, but seek answers from your community, your people, and all the innovators. And especially with all this advance in technology, the government is having a very hard time at creating all these laws to stop the free flow of information. So I'm optimistic. I don't think they will be successful, but we have to be alert. And the only way they can't be successful if we give it our attention and fight it as best as we can by spreading the information as wide as we can.
You bring up good points. Technology always the double-edged sword. If they try to use it against us, there are people who will find ways to use it against them as well, which is exactly what this free internet media is all about. But also, you bring up the point that it was the mass mobilization that happened around things like SOPA and PIPA that made the blockage of that legislation possible because of the mass awareness. It's one of the few issues. 14 years of occupation of Afghanistan, 1 million dead Iraqis, all these things don't matter to people, but talk about censoring the internet and people get up in arms. How about in Canada? Is this one of those touchstone issues that people care about in that degree?
Not enough. The problem in Canada is that not enough people are really aware that this is even an issue in the first place. So I think in our case, awareness is absolutely key. I put out a video about this back in 2011, ranting and raving and screaming to people, we got to do something about this. And I didn't get very much of a response about that at all. Now that it's more prominent and it's in the news and it's in the mainstream, people are starting to pay a little bit more attention. If they had paid attention back in 2011, perhaps we wouldn't be here now. So I really think awareness is key at this point. So some of the things we have to continue to do are things like we're doing right now. Put this information out there. Let people know that their rights are being taken away from them online, and unless they do something about it, nothing's going to change.
Also, the old phrase "use it or lose it" comes to mind because, again, it's one of those things that it is a muscle, and the more you flex it, the stronger it becomes. And in that regard, thinking of all of the ways that this technology can be used and is sorely underutilized by a lot of the public out there. Obviously, citizen media like We Are Change, like Press for Truth, like hopefully the Corbett Report are ways that anyone out there, literally in the audience who is listening to this, who can make a video, who can do a podcast, who can put out a video, or who can even share this information with others, is doing something to help in this regard. And also, we've got to keep using the internet for what it's for, which is spreading of freedom and truth, and cat videos if you want, but make sure that there's a bit of freedom and truth in there. All right, Luke, any final thoughts on this issue?
You said it perfectly. The internet and technology and information is like a muscle. If we don't use it, we're going to become weak, pathetic little slime bags. But if we use it, we empower ourselves, nothing is impossible. The future of society at large is within our hands. They're trying to take away this amazing moment in history that we never had before, but they won't be successful unless we stand up for our rights and be vocal about it.
Dan, any words of encouragement for Canadians out there teetering on the fence?
Now is the time to get involved. If you're not excited about getting into exposing these issues, now is the time. I mean, things are ramping up like exponentially. So I just encourage you, if you've never done this before, if you're just getting into this, dive in head first and start making changes. Go online, get a YouTube channel, start posting on Facebook, get a Twitter account, get this information out there. Whatever you can do, just dive head in.
And my Japanese brothers and sisters, you're at the forefront of a lot of this censorship as well, so please follow this advice and start getting the word out about these incredible issues. This is James Corbett in Acapulco, Mexico, with Luke Rudowski of We Are Change and Dan Dix of Press for Truth.
En este momento el precio de Bitcoin es muy económico. At the moment the price of Bitcoin is very cheap. Pero casi todo el mundo tiene muy poco dinero para invertir. But almost everybody has very little money to invest. Debería decir que esta idea me vino hoy especialmente cuando vi otra vez una chica ahí pidiendo dinero por la calle. Actually, I must say first, this idea today I got especially when I saw again one girl begging for money in the streets. Me gustaría ayudar, pero yo tampoco me sobra mucho el dinero. I would really like to help everybody, but I don't have either too much money. And Así que me vino la siguiente idea. So I got the following idea. Es más bien un juego. It's rather a game. Lo que es muy importante, elegir un monedero de Bitcoin que solo tú misma tienes la llave privada. What is very important to choose Bitcoin wallet company which you only possess the private key. For example, blockchain.info. Por ejemplo, la empresa blockchain.info. Luego, imprimir en papel la llave privada y también guardarlo tú mismo. Then, to print in paper the private key and, of course, save for yourself that private key. Bueno, ya estamos imprimiendo, imprime por lo menos 10. So now we are already printing, so at least print 10 directions, 10 direcciones. Luego pones algo de Bitcoin, una cantidad, lo que te da la gana en esta dirección. Then you put some Bitcoin, the amount, whatever you want, in these directions. Y la próxima vez que sales de casa ya tienes algo que dar a los que están ahí pidiendo por la calle. And the next time you go out of the house, you have already something to give for these people who are begging on the streets. Y por ejemplo, y claro, para tus amigos, amigas, and for your friends, of course. Eso da motivación a la gente para aprender Bitcoin y this gives motivation for the people to learn about Bitcoin. Y la parte del juego consiste en lo siguiente, and the game part consists in the following. Explicas a la gente, mira, esta es la clave privada, que es la clave secreta. You explain to the people, look, this is the private key, which must be secret. And you have it, and me, and explicas, esa persona y yo mismo la tiene. Y antes pensaba en 5 años, pero luego cambié un poco de idea de hasta 4 años. First I thought of 5 years, but then I changed my opinion to 4 years, later explain. Después lo explico por qué. Les dices, mira, tienes 4 años para poner esta cantidad de Bitcoin a otra dirección. Si no lo has quitado después de 4 años, yo lo quito. So you explain them, you have 4 years to take this Bitcoin out of this direction, of this secret key direction. If you don't do it, I do it after these 4 years, so you lose this. That's this part of the game, es la parte del juego. He creado este hashtag BTC4 para hacerlo un poco popular. I created this hashtag BTC4 to make it a little popular. Antes pensaba en 5 años, pero luego cambié a 4 porque the has dado cuenta que en Los Simpson la gente tiene 4 dedos y solo Dios tiene 5 dedos. First, I thought of 5 years, but then I changed my mind to 4 years. Did you notice that in The Simpsons, people have 4 fingers and only God has 5 fingers? I'll show some pictures. Voy a enseñar algunas imágenes de Los Simpsons, de los manos y dedos de Simpsons. Some pictures of the hands and fingers of Simpsons. Pero antes quiero recordar que es muy probable que en también 4 o 5 en los próximos años el valor de Bitcoin puede subir mucho. Just want to remember before that the price of Bitcoin, the value of Bitcoin can rise very much in these next years. Así que si solo pones una cantidad pequeña, más tarde puede ser de gran ayuda. Even if you just put a little small amount, later it can be big help. No solo para, bueno, es un juego. Si la persona lo quita antes de 4 años, es para esta persona, si no, es para ti, si te recuerdas y guardas bien la llave privada. So this is the game part. If the person takes the money out, it's for that person. But if they forget it after these 4 years, you can take it out. And it can be really...
Bueno, imprimir también la llave pública y la llave privada. Y si, por ejemplo, okay, first translate. Print not just the private key, but also the public key. Así que si, por ejemplo, explicas a la gente, mira, si alguna persona quiere enviarte Bitcoin, pero tú no tienes ninguna dirección, así que puedes dar esta llave pública a la persona. Mira, muy bien, la llave pública, no la llave secreta. Das a esa persona o cualquier persona y te pueden enviar Bitcoin a esa dirección. So remember, the public key you can give to anybody, and if somebody wants to send you some Bitcoin and this person doesn't have any, so you have already this public address where they can send you Bitcoin.
¿Qué es Bitcoin? Bitcoin es la primera moneda digital descentralizada. Los Bitcoins son monedas digitales que puedes enviar a través de Internet. Comparado con otras alternativas, Bitcoin tiene numerosas ventajas. Los Bitcoins son transferidos directamente de persona a persona a través de la red sin pasar por un banco u otro intermediario. Esto significa que las comisiones son mucho menores, puedes usarlo en cualquier país, tu cuenta no puede ser congelada y no hay prerequisitos o límites arbitrarios. Miremos cómo funciona. Los Bitcoins son generados en todo Internet por cualquiera con un programa gratuito llamado minero de Bitcoin. Crear Bitcoins requiere una cierta cantidad de trabajo para cada bloque de monedas. Esta cantidad se ajusta automáticamente por la red para que los Bitcoins siempre sean creados a un ratio predecible y limitado. Tus Bitcoins se guardan en tu billetera digital, que te resultará familiar si usas banca digital. Cuando transfieres Bitcoins, una firma electrónica es añadida. Pasados unos minutos, la transacción es verificada por el minero y es almacenada permanente y anónimamente por la red. El software de Bitcoin es completamente abierto y cualquiera puede revisar el código. Bitcoin está cambiando las finanzas de la misma manera que la web ha cambiado el periodismo. Cuando cualquiera tiene acceso al mercado global, florecen grandes ideas. Miremos algunos ejemplos de cómo los Bitcoins están usándose hoy en día. Puedes comprar videojuegos, regalos, libros, servidores y calcetines de alpaca. Existen varias casas de cambio donde puedes intercambiar tus bitcoins por dólares, euros y más. Los bitcoins son una gran forma para que pequeños negocios y autónomos reciban publicidad. No cuesta nada empezar a aceptarlos, no hay cargos o comisiones y recibirás negocio adicional de la economía Bitcoin. Para tus primeros bitcoins y más información, visita weusecoins.com.
Bueno, ahora voy a enseñar algunas imágenes de los dedos de Simpsons. Now I'll show some pictures of the fingers of Simpson. The 4 fingers, los 4 dedos y 5 dedos de Dios. The 4 fingers and 5 fingers of God of Simpsons.
The 13th of March.
Right now, there are more people on the internet than there were on the planet in 1960.
We're raising money.
And it's easier to be discovered than ever before.
It takes a full team to make each one of our videos.
But the internet needs better software to help us reward one another for our work.
Advertisers value you differently. They say that 1,000 of you is only worth $6.
Any help is very much appreciated. Please fund this project. We need your help.
Son, isn't that enough?
Inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweigh the dangers
Face the facts, join our hands, make a stand. It's time to gather plans, get the shot, take the chance. Till there is no one left, stay correct to the death. They can't ever break a freedom, we will never let them. The corrupt politics is killing the system. Cynicism is it, and it's everything that you witness. They tell you what to think, make you believe that they're the realness. They feed us full of lies, and yet we always forgive them. Huh? It's all conspiracy, and if you're feeding into it, you're the puppet. The government's pulling strings from above you. It's time for the introduction to truth, and let's start a movement. We've all been brainwashed, they believe that we all are stupid. We believe in what we see and whatever our ears are hearing. But if you look close, listen, gather your own opinion, you'll understand all the lies, lines, and what's between them. This word is not your oyster, this word is a fucking prison. Come on! To what's happening in our nation. No one will stand up for the fear of assassination. So they strip us of everything. We stand there and just take it. I'm scared to make a stand, a false flag operation. Research Illuminati, find out by 9/11. You see they line their pockets, don't believe the lies they tell you. Find and seek the truth, realize we need to do whatever it is we can to protect our livelihood. It's time for us to prove whether conspiracy or not. They owe some explanations to the questions that we got. What are the skull and bones? What is lying beneath all these secretive meats? Got you lying between your teeth. What's with the Bilderberg and burning your effigies? I'm praying to Lucifer. How Satanist can you be? While all of the time praying you believing in the peace just to keep up appearances within Christianity. Come on. We have to stay strong. When they try to shut us down or turn around, let us storm them. We got the warnings. Let us march from the morning through the night. We gon' fight and close the eye and overthrow all these damn secret societies. Why we gotta stand for the new world proprieties? The evidence is clear. We're naive to the lies